Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the CoculesNation. My name is Secret Agent Neeks No Cocules, and I'm the founder and director of the Cocules Industry Spy Network and the CoculesNation. Now, 8 months ago, I have done a video on setting up BSPWM on an Ubuntu and or Debian based operating system. Well, it's 8 months old, and I could probably do an updated version of that tutorial, because there are some things that have changed since then, including the fonts. Now, first things first, we're going to go ahead and do sudo apt update, and then of course, sudo apt upgrade, just like that, nothing else. Maybe do a -y just in case, but I'm not going to do that right now. Instead, after you do the update, you'll then want to grab two packages. So sudo apt install, and it will be BSPWM and SXHKD. SXHKD is what controls some window managers. BSPWM was actually designed around SXHKD, both of which were made by the same author. Now, let's go ahead and go to codeberg.org/neekdoig and then .files, just like that. And we will go to my .files repository on Codeberg, and all you have to do, clone the repository, copy this link, go into your terminal, I'll delete that, then do git clone, and then I already know the exact repository. It'll be codeberg.org, and then .files, I believe it'll be a .git as well. Yes, it is. It is going to be a .git. Now, you could use the SSH version, but I don't think SSH is properly set up for me. So I should be all right there. But copy everything from the .config into your home directory, and then you'll be able to add in whatever is inside here. You have my Alacrity config, my BSPWM config, my i3 config, my Polybar config, some app image launcher things. This is for DS4 driver. And then you have PyCom. PyCom is going to be a requirement. So back here, so we'll do sudo apt install PyCom. We have PyCom, BSPWM, SXHKD. Alacrity you'll have to build from source. Polybar you can build from source if you want to. That's what I did. But you can do Polybar as well, because I don't think the version matters. Rofi, you can get Rofi as well. And you'll want to get, I think i3. I think it'll be i3 and i3 blocks. Though I think for i3 blocks, I built i3 blocks from source, I believe. So I don't think that's necessary. App image launcher, you'll also want to grab. But I believe these are the packages you'll want to get if you want to use my personal config files. Now, that said, once this is done, make sure the BSPWM and SXHKDRCs are both executable files. You can check that in your file manager by going into your config. I'll do BSPWM here, if I can track it down. And then right-click on it, Properties, and then Permissions. If it's not set to execute for anyone, or very similar, that means you will not be able to have your BSPWM working. You have to do the same thing with your SXHKDRC. Right-click on it, Properties, make sure it is executable. If it is not executable, you will not be able to log in to BSPWM. Both files need to be executable. They have to be binary files. Now, after that, there's one other requirement, which will be nerd fonts. Let's head to nerdfonts.com and go into downloads. I have two nerd fonts that will be required, which are Code New Roman. And if we go down here, we'll go down to ESFGA. Those two are required fonts. And I can show you up here. I will head into my Alacrity config. And if we go down here, you'll find Code New Roman Nerd Font and ESFGA. I also have JetBrains Mono, which is another requirement. It's down here. So those three fonts in particular, you will need to grab. Now, I would personally recommend you place them in your .fonts folder, which is right here. This will be the recommended way to install fonts on your system, but you don't have to get them into the system. All you have to do, place your fonts inside of here. That's what I did with the 3270 font, with Agave, Code New Roman, and I did JetBrains Mono. You'll be able to do everything else from there. Now, you should be fine and dandy with that. Also, if you want to do BSPWM, you will need BSP layout. That one is a requirement, and it'll take you to a GitHub page. I will have these linked in the description below if I remember. Alright, so I think that should be fine and dandy there. Now, you'll realize that I am using a color scheme called 2034 or 3024 Night. Well, that's because of Go Colors, which is essentially a script for you to install terminal color schemes right here. And it's under Dark Themes 3024 Night. Nothing special there. There's background. You can get all the themes by background. So I could probably do 0C, 0C, 0C and bring in Campbell over here. So that's actually not so bad. But you just have to grab this script, choose theme number 2, which is this one, and then you'll get 2034 Nights. That's how I personally do it, though I may use a different one altogether. Now, that is the long and the short of it, right? The long and the short of it with my personal configs thus far. This was a short one, but I have a little surprise for you. Let me get onto i3 and I'll be right back with you in just a second. This is my current i3 config. If we pull up my terminal here, I'll go ahead and go into my i3 config using this, a Vim-like modal editor, but with only 36,000 lines of code instead of the 900,000 that you find in regular Vim. You'll see I have made a couple changes. I am trying out Code New Roman Nerd Font, but I may go ahead and use ESFGA. I'll use ESFGA at the size of 20. That's actually pretty good. Nice and large. But if I go ahead and did, say, 16 point font, it'll be a bit smaller, but these are nice and reachable icons. Excuse me. And you have your normal stuff here, with the inclusion of the terminal, which is Alacrity, and I even have GNOME terminal set up like this as well. But everything else is going to be fine. Keep in mind, I did all of this using Linux Mint 22, and yes, on X, because Wayland doesn't seem to work for me. Though I might be able to get something like Hyperland working, I will have to do some testing with that. But that said, that is all I have for this short video. Thank you, and good night.